Network operators that are seeking to embrace more open, cloud-oriented architectures and benefit from the innovation that a broader ecosystem can deliver need a few key assurances that their technology partners can help them build, manage, run and evolve smart, dynamic and automated networks. And to find out more about this topic, I'm talking today with a trio of experts from Ericsson. Pedro Sousa, who is the company's Strategic Product Manager for Cloud RAN, Minoru Saito, Portfolio Manager for Network Design and Optimization in the Business Area Managed Services, and Gustavo Hylander, Strategic Product Manager for Self-Organizing Networks, or SON. So, welcome everybody. Pedro, let's start with you. How is network automation addressing the increasing challenges of disaggregated radio access networks?
Absolutely. I mean, we see some industry movements coming from O-RAN. We do see that with the path of virtualization, what is happening now in the RAN domain, there is an increase of complexity, there is a split of domains, and this is something that, of course, requires automation. To that aspect, we do see the need for, like O-RAN has been pushing for and stating a need for an increased platform for automation. And the key here is to foster the ecosystem in terms of what capabilities everyone, us and other operators and vendors can bring in with their contributions for an open ecosystem for automation. But of course, this will increase the level of complexity that we're used to today.
Okay, and why is Cloud RAN more complex than traditional RAN?
Okay, so there are a few factors that are starting to come into play. On one side, we in Cloud RAN have decided to go for a cloud-native architecture. With that, of course, it means that there is the introduction of separation when it comes to the hardware domain and the application domain. There's also a few factors coming from a demand in the industry, which we can see that is a separation when it comes to the run functions. What used to be just before just a physical baseband, now it's being split into several functions. And then together with that, cloud itself also brings some changes to what operators are used to, especially in the operations area. You do now have different domains that you need to monitor, you need to manage, you need to take into account on how this works as an entire system. But it also brings some new benefits when it comes to the possibilities that you can have now that before were a bit more challenging. We do have the possibility to flesh out some of the key benefits and key characteristics of cloud native, and especially when we start looking more into centralized deployments of RAN, we can see that there's some gains not only in pooling but also the dynamic behaviors we can have to meet the demands from the RAN that have always been dynamic. So it's time now also to adapt a RAN to be more dynamic and less static than before.
So what can actually be done to address this complexity?
Good point. Not everything is for free. Of course, with the introduction of new technologies, with the introduction of a new paradigm, complexity increases. Now, what we propose ourselves and what we bring to market with this solution is to focus on automation. This is the key point: is automation, automation, automation. We must control the increase of complexity by keeping at least at the same level and aiming at reducing this increase to operators in order for them to focus more on what really matters to them, is get your focus, get your resources on revenue generating activities. There's also a few aspects when it comes to adapting to these dynamic behaviors, of course. Before we used to do everything a bit more in a programmatic way. Now with AI and ML, it allows us to have the capability to be able to adapt to the different local conditions of the RAN deployments. Then, of course, all of this is also benefiting from having this platform that we're introducing, and the ability of having rApps to improve what can be extracted from the RAN itself.
And what do you think are going to be the next steps for network automation?
Okay, so we have started this journey from the point of view of controlling this complexity. We do want to focus, to have a strong focus initially on the operational management of a cloud-based solution. This implies that we will have, of course, more applications that will automate typical operation of the network, but also bring some of the new capabilities that we have connected and that are inherent to a cloud architecture. Namely, if we look at the aspects we can automate and utilize on lifecycle management, and similarly on the way we can do some radio automation. Now, this will be just the first steps. After that, and we're working heavily across the company to be able also to increase the level of network performance that we can extract and we can provide from the networks of any operator. And the ultimate goal and where we want to reach is to provide a full network that can be self-organized, it can be self-scaling, so that in the end it can fit the dynamic behaviors that we see coming from the different demands of the users of the network at any given point in time and location, of course.
Okay, great. Well, a really interesting area of development there. Thanks very much, Pedro. Now, let's come to you, Minoru. Now, Pedro mentioned AI and ML. Why and how does artificial intelligence and machine learning play a key role in network automation? And do you have any proof points?
Yes. As Pedro mentioned already, network complexity has been increasing and keep increasing. And also, when it comes to operator business, OpEx is going to be minimized. That's kind of operator need, together with the little bit flattish ARP trend. So traditionally, so the operator has to use the rule-based automation. Okay, so that has a kind of limitation in terms of speed, scale, and accuracy. However, together with introduction of AI and machine learning, those technology can easily address those challenges. So one of our proof points is that our existing solution, it's called performance diagnostics, which is now being deployed over 9 million cells in worldwide. And it's truly multi-vendor solution. Half of them, 9 million, is actually multi-vendor run. In the past, if I talk about manual way of analyzing a network, one engineer could take like 20 minutes to analyze one cell. However, together with our solution, the solution can analyze 1 million cells just in 30 minutes. So this is kind of super efficient way of analyzing the network.
Yeah, that's an absolutely massive advance there. Are there any particular challenges when developing AI and ML-based use cases?
Yes, definitely any new technologies can come with a little bit of challenges, and AI and machine learning is not an exception. So one of the challenges I would like to highlight is that about lifecycle management of AI-based automation. So the moment we develop AI model, it starts kind of degrading because network is always changing. New devices coming, new services launched. So network trend continue changing, meaning that our AI model's validity is questioned. However, there are solutions to address. One example that we have already taken and in part of our product is that the combination of supervised and unsupervised learning to make lifecycle management much easier. Okay. So meaning that we have less dependency on the human knowledge, rather we leverage unsupervised autonomous algorithms of machine learning. In Ericsson, we are managing so many networks in the worldwide, and that's serving more than 1 billion subscribers. And so globally, Ericsson has deployed RAN network and core network in various network environments, including very complex and dense urban network. So that gives Ericsson a better position in terms of the knowledge and experience to deal with a large variety of networks. So all those are kind of embedded into our AI model together with lifecycle management.
Yes, a lot of global experience there. Now, why is multi-vendor support key to addressing the upcoming challenges in network automation?
Yeah, definitely. I believe that's one of the most interesting area from operator perspective as well. So traditionally, operator had to prepare different teams in terms of people and different expert systems to make automation of the networks, to cover different RAN network, for example. However, together with our launch of SMO, Ericsson Intelligent RAN Automation, and rApps, now operator can focus on use case. So that means having common use case across multi-RAN vendor, for example, can reduce the complexity for operator to operate their network day to day. I think one clear conclusion from our joint research with Omdia is that so many operators look for a common platform to handle multi-vendor RAN network. So we believe that launch of SMO together with rApps definitely speed up the introduction of common use case into the multi-vendor network, which is the majority of operators' network today.
Absolutely. Okay, yeah, that makes total sense with what's going on in the market. Thank you very much, Minoru. And now, Gustavo, thank you very much for your patience. Gustavo, in what way will Ericsson's intelligent automation platform facilitate the delivery of automation use cases?
Yeah, you heard that Pedro saying that the complexity of the networks have been increasing over the last years, and actually they are going to further increase the complexity with the introduction of the Cloud RAN, and also from Minoru, he mentioned the expanding to multi-vendor environments and the need of having this common platform to run all those automation use cases. The Ericsson Intelligent Automation Platform, it does exactly that. Does exactly that. It is a common platform that is going to be used across all the Ericsson business units to deliver the automation use cases. On top of a modular platform that is cloud-based and microservices-based, that can deliver the automation capabilities in a much more efficient way. Automation is not a new word that has been there for some time, and traditionally has been delivered in many different ways, but always on a silo base, if I may say, like individual automation functions being delivered with different pieces of software and different platforms. By having this common automation platform, which opening and standard interfaces, we can essentially increase the efficiency of delivering those use cases significantly.
Okay, thank you. And how will the evolution towards the intelligent automation platform and its service management and orchestration capabilities change the way that automation functions interact?
If we consider that we envision a future in which we will see like an ecosystem of automation applications or rApps in the Orange terminology, that will be coming from different sources. As I said, the Intelligent Automation Platform brings a set of open APIs and open interfaces in which we will be able to deploy not only the Ericsson own catalog of automation applications and rApps, but also this is open to our applications from third parties, from partners, or even homemade application by our operators. So the way those applications interact has to change, because it is possible or will be possible that we will have multiple automation functions that will be modifying same or very similar or related parameters in the network. So we need to find a way that those functions can coexist and actually not degrading the network performance, but actually working together to improve the network performance. I mean, that coordination of the automation functions, it is a key role that is not possible to achieve if you have different applications running independently on different software platforms. So by having this coordination of some functions or application functions in the platform, we can actually build that ecosystems of functions in which we can decide, for example, what will be the priority of certain functions to implement certain changes on a network node, depending on the conditions, on the network conditions, on the circumstances. For example, it would be a special event, or in case of a network outage, some functions can take precedence over the other. And also to avoid that you will have multiple functions implementing or contradicting changes in the same network nodes. I mean, this RApp ecosystem that we envision and we foresee that will happen in the future can only be working in an efficient manner if you have this orchestration and coordination of the some functions made on the platform.
Okay, great. So really helpful in terms of day-to-day operations. But in what way will the intelligent automation platform enable innovation? What particular tools does it have for that?
Yeah, this is an interesting question, and Minoru was mentioned about the ML and AI. The intelligent automation platform comes with an SDK, a software development kit that allows our customer, our partners, or third party to basically, our service organization, to basically develop their own functions, automation functions, making use of all the data, all the multi-vendor data that is actually mediated and stored in the platform. To build functions that really work across all the networks, regardless of the technology. Could be a physical virtual RAN, or in the future as well, the cloud RAN networks, or the vendors that have in the network.
Okay, that's a really important message for the market. Thank you very much, Gustavo, and thanks to all three of you. Now, let's just come to a couple of questions that have come from the TelecomTV community. It sounds as if that Ericsson has plans to launch a very diverse set of rApps. Is there a conflict here between Ericsson's rApps and those developed by CSPs or third-party developers? Gustavo, let's come to you on this.
Mm-hmm. No, well, as I was just saying, this environment, obviously Ericsson has the intention to develop a own catalog of applications, but as I said, this is an open platform, and we provide the mechanism and the interfaces and APIs for anyone else to actually bring their RApps. But those RApps need to work in coordination with the existing functions, so that we avoid conflicts or contradicting effects of the different RApps that are working on the same network nodes. So it is all providing an open environment, but with the level of coordination and orchestration between those functions.
And might that lead to overlaps, perhaps multiple companies developing the same applications and creating competition amongst developers? Pedro, maybe we can come to you first on this.
So we do see that there will be competition between rApps. There will be a wider ecosystem of a multitude of vendors, and we do welcome it. I mean, this is how innovation gets going into the industry. We need to be able to foster this innovation. And we will have applications that can be in the realm of network deployment, network optimization, network healing, but also a lot more possibilities come. I mean, traditionally, operators have been developing their own tools. Now they do have a platform where they can actually have support from a platform to develop these tools. We also see that there will be a larger set of the industry that today are not engaging in telecom, that can bring some additional thoughts, ideas, and in the end, some network optimization. We do want to foster innovation, and if we can bring a benefit to the table and create a larger ecosystem where everyone can have a say, we will do so, and that is how we got here today.
Okay, excellent, thanks. And Gustavo, I mean, is this the kind of sort of innovation drivers that you're looking for from this platform? That you'll get multiple companies developing lots of different and maybe sometimes overlapping applications?
Yeah, absolutely. And just following up with Pedro's comment, we actually welcome this innovation, and in Ericsson we have started already our journey to migrate our legacy solutions into the automation platform, and we see that there will be competition. This competition is welcome, where we can actually capture more innovations, and we see this is the way we will further develop the platform in sense, and will make ourselves be better in the future with our own applications.
So obviously this is really important to drive innovation in the industry, which really is what everybody is looking for. So all of this is absolutely key to the development and innovation for communications service providers and of course their customers and developers. So Pedro, Minoru, Gustavo, thanks very much for joining us today and sharing your insights. Thank you.